She wrecked my classic car and laughed. "It's just metal, get over it." I replied, "You're right, it is." She stopped laughing when she saw what I sold to pay for the repairs. I, 32 male, have been restoring cars since I was 16. It's not just a hobby, it's my meditation, my art, my connection to my late grandfather who taught me everything I know about engines. My pride and joy was a 1970 Plymouth Cuda. I'd spent 6 years restoring. Every bolt, every panel, every inch of that car had been touched by my hands. Found it as a rust bucket for $3,500 and put another $25,000 and countless hours into it. Not to flip it, to keep it. This car was my baby. Enter Veronica, my girlfriend of 8 months. She never understood the car thing, called it playing with toys, and made jokes about me loving the car more than her. I'd laugh it off, but it bothered me how dismissive she was of something that meant so much to me. The incident happened on a Thursday evening. I was working late, and she texted asking to borrow my daily driver. Her BMW was in the shop for some minor issue. I told her sure, keys were on the hook. What I didn't know was that she'd decided my Honda was too boring for her night out with friends. I got home around 10 p.m. to find my garage door open and my Cuda gone. My heart dropped. I called her immediately. "Hey babe," she answered, music blaring in the background. "Where's my car?" "Oh, I took the pretty one. The Honda is so lame." "Veronica, that's not a daily driver. It's not insured for other drivers. Where are you?" "Relax, I'm a great driver. We're just at Tiffany's place." "I'm coming to get it. Don't move," she laughed. "God, you're so dramatic. It's just a car." 20 minutes later, I got another call. Not from her, from the police. She'd wrapped my Cuda around a lamppost. When I arrived at the scene, she was standing there with her friends, laughing. Actually laughing. The front end of my car was destroyed. 6 years of work, crumpled like paper. "Babe," she called out when she saw me. "Look, I'm so sorry, but it's kind of funny, right? I confused the brake and the gas." I couldn't speak, just stared at the wreckage. "Oh my God, are you crying?" She giggled. "It's just metal. Get over it. Insurance will fix it." "You're not on my insurance, and this is a classic. Do you have any idea what you've done?" She rolled her eyes. "I'll pay for it, whatever. Stop being such a baby." The police officer approached. No drugs or alcohol, just negligence. She'd been showing off, took a turn too fast, lost control. Her friends corroborated. They'd been recording her driving the vintage car for Instagram when she crashed. I had the car towed to my buddy Jerome's shop. The damage assessment came back the next day. $18,000 minimum, possibly more depending on finding original parts. The frame was bent, front end destroyed, engine damaged. "Your girlfriend gonna cover this?" Jerome asked. "She says she will." He gave me a look. We both knew better. I was right. When I showed Veronica the estimate, her tune changed immediately. $18,000, that's insane. The whole car isn't worth that. Actually, restored, Cudas go for 60–80K. Mine would have been worth more if you hadn't destroyed it. "Well, I don't have that kind of money. Can't you just fix it yourself, like you did before? With what money for parts? And the frame damage needs professional work." She shrugged. "Not my problem. Sue me if you want. My dad's a lawyer." "Your dad's a divorce attorney." "Still a lawyer. Look, I said I was sorry. Accidents happen. You need to get over this obsession with that stupid car." That's when I smiled. "You're right. It is just metal." She looked surprised at my sudden agreement. "See, I knew you'd be reasonable." "Absolutely. In fact, I've already figured out how to pay for the repairs." "Oh good. Insurance?" "No, by selling your stuff." She laughed. "What?" "Well, you live in my house rent-free. You've been driving my cars for months without contributing to insurance or gas. You have quite a collection of designer items that you keep here. I figure that should cover most of the damages. You can't sell my things. Why not? They're just things, leather and fabric. Get over it." Update 1. Veronica stormed out that night, but she left all her stuff. See, she'd been practically living with me for the past 4 months, though she maintained her own apartment. Her reasoning was that my place was nicer and more convenient to her work. Over the next day, I cataloged everything she'd left behind. 6 designer handbags, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Gucci, 12 pairs of designer shoes, Louboutins, Jimmy Choos. Designer clothing, more than I could count. Jewelry she kept in my safe, gifts from exes, apparently. A limited edition Hermes scarf collection, professional camera equipment. She fancied herself an influencer. The total value, based on resale prices, about $22,000. Now I know what you're thinking. I can't just sell her stuff. And you're right, but here's where it gets interesting. She came back the next day with her friend Becca, expecting to collect her things and move back to her apartment. I was ready. "Where are my bags?" she demanded, noticing they weren't in the closet. "Safe. We need to discuss the accident first." "There's nothing to discuss. I'm not paying for your stupid car." "Okay, then I need you to sign this." I handed her a document I'd had drafted by my lawyer friend. "What is this?" "An agreement. It states that you acknowledge causing $18,000 in damages to my vehicle, that you refuse to pay for repairs, and that you're forfeiting any claim to property left in my residence as compensation." "I'm not signing shit." "Then your stuff stays locked up until we resolve this." "That's theft." "Actually, it's a lien. You cause damages, refuse to pay, and abandon property in my home. I have every right to hold it until you make things right." Becca chimed in. "Just sign it, V. You weren't going to pay anyway." Veronica glared at her. "Whose side are you on?" "Girl, you crashed his car and laughed about it." "That was cold. It's just a car." I pulled out my phone, showed them a video. "This is 400 hours of restoration work. Every weekend for 6 years. Me and my grandfather before he passed. His last project with me." For a second I saw something flicker in her eyes. Then it was gone. "Still just a car?" she muttered, but with less conviction. "And your bags are just bags. Your shoes are just shoes. Sign the papers and get your stuff, or don't sign and leave without it. Your choice. This is extortion. This is consequences." She argued for another hour. Threatened to call the cops. I encouraged her to. Threatened her lawyer dad. I had his number ready. Finally, she realized I wasn't budging. "Fine, I'll sign your stupid paper. Just give me my things." "Actually, I have a better idea. Let's make a deal." Update 2, I sat down across from her. Becca was recording everything on her phone, for Veronica's protection, she said. "Perfect. Here's my offer. You pay for half the repairs, $9,000. I'll cover the rest and give you all your stuff back." "I don't have $9,000. You have a job, you make good money. That's from my expenses." "What expenses? You live here rent-free, eat my food, drive my cars." She was quiet. Option 2, I sell enough of your items to cover the full $18,000. Whatever's left, you can have back. "You can't sell my things." "Watch me. I've already had them appraised. Your Chanel bag alone is worth $4,500. Her face went pale. "That was a gift from my ex. And my car was a gift from my grandfather. Guess we both lose sentimental items." "This is different." "How?" She couldn't answer. Option 3. I continued. You move out today, take nothing, and I sue you for the full amount plus damages. Your choice. Becca whispered to her, "Take the payment plan, V. It's fair." "Fair? He's holding my things hostage." "Girl, you crashed his car and refused to pay. What did you expect?" Veronica looked between us, realizing she'd lost her only ally. "Fine, I'll pay the $9,000, but I need time." "How much time?" 6 months. 3 months. $3,000 per month. First payment due in 30 days. "That's impossible. Your BMW payment is $800. Insurance is $200. You make $75 a year. Stop eating out every meal and shopping every weekend. It's very possible." She glared at me. "When did you become such an asshole?" "When you laughed at destroying something I loved." We drew up a payment agreement. She signed it. Becca witnessed it. I gave her back her everyday clothes and toiletries, but kept the valuable items as collateral. "This is degrading," she muttered, packing her things. "No, degrading is watching your girlfriend laugh while standing next to 6 years of your work, destroyed because she wanted to show off for Instagram." She left that night. But the story doesn't end there. Update 3. 2 weeks passed. No word from Veronica. The first payment deadline was approaching, and I was preparing to sell her items when I got an unexpected call. "Is this the owner of the damaged 1970 Plymouth?" Professional voice. "Yes." "This is Atlantic Insurance. We're calling about a claim filed by Veronica Hendricks." My blood ran cold. "What claim?" "She's filed a claim stating she was a registered driver on your policy and that the accident was due to mechanical failure." "That's fraud. She wasn't on my policy, and the police report clearly states she lost control of the vehicle." "We'll need to see that report." I sent everything. The police report, photos, even the videos her friends had posted, before deleting them, showing her speeding and laughing moments before the crash. Then I called my lawyer friend. She's trying to commit insurance fraud. Document everything. This just went from civil to criminal. 3 days later, Veronica showed up at my house, furious. You got me fired. What? My company found out about the insurance investigation. They have a morality clause, 0 tolerance for fraud. You tried to defraud my insurance company, that's on you. I was just trying to fix this mess. By committing a felony? She broke down crying. But not sad tears, angry tears. You've ruined my life over a stupid car. No, you ruined your life by being reckless, entitled, and then criminal. I just refuse to be your victim. I want my things now. Pay me the $9,000 we agreed on. I don't have a job anymore, thanks to you. Sounds like you better start selling things. Oh wait, I have them. She lunged at me. Actually tried to hit me. I stepped back, let her fall forward. You should leave before I call the police. I hate you. You're a monster. I'm someone who holds people accountable. New experience for you, I know. She left, but not before keying my Honda on the way out. I had it on camera, added it to the file. Update 4. The next month was a whirlwind. Veronica's parents got involved. Her father, the divorce attorney, tried to intimidate me with legal threats. I forwarded him the insurance fraud evidence. He went quiet real fast. Her mother called, crying about how I was ruining her daughter's life. I sent her the video of Veronica laughing at my destroyed car. She hung up. Then came the smear campaign. Social media posts about her abusive ex who was financially controlling her. Some people bought it until I posted my own response. The police report, the repair estimate, and her signed agreement to pay. Public opinion shifted quickly. When it became clear she wasn't going to pay and was instead focused on destroying my reputation, I made good on my threat. I carefully photographed each item and listed them on various resale platforms. The Chanel bags sold in 2 days. The Louboutins went within a week. Each sale was documented, receipted, and the money went directly to Jerome's shop for parts and labor. Veronica found out when her friend saw one of her bags listed online. The texts came flooding in. That's my bag. You can't do this. Per our signed agreement, failure to pay allows me to recoup losses through your abandoned property. I'll sue you. With what money? Also, discovery will be fun when they see the insurance fraud. I hope you die alone. I hope you learn accountability. It took 2 months to sell enough items to cover the repairs. Some things didn't sell for what they were appraised at, so I had to sell more than planned. In the end, I raised $17,500 from her designer goods. The remaining $500, I covered it myself. Small price to pay for the lesson learned. Final update. My Cuda is back in my garage, restored to her former glory. Jerome did amazing work. You can't even tell she was ever damaged. Every time I look at her, I feel a mix of pride and sadness. Pride that she's whole again. Sadness that my grandfather's original work was destroyed. Veronica? Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, she moved back in with her parents. Still unemployed, the insurance fraud investigation made her unhireable in her field. She tells anyone who'll listen about her psycho ex who stole her belongings. A few people have reached out to get my side. I just send them the video of her laughing at my destroyed car. That usually ends the conversation. Her friend Becca actually apologized to me last month. Said she didn't realize how toxic Veronica was until she lived through the aftermath. Apparently, Veronica expected everyone to fund her lifestyle while she was unemployed. When they refused, she turned on them too. The insurance company? They declined to prosecute but flagged her in their system. She'll have trouble getting insurance for the next decade. The kicker? About a month ago, I got a letter from a law firm. Veronica was suing me for the value of her sold items. I countersued for the deductible I paid, the rental car costs during repairs, and emotional distress for the destruction of a family heirloom. Her lawyer dropped the case within a week. I learned a lot from this experience. Mainly when someone shows you who they are, believe them. When she laughed at destroying something precious to me, she revealed her character. Everything after was just confirmation. Some people asked why I didn't just let it go, eat the cost, and move on. Simple, because actions have consequences. She made choice after choice taking the car without permission, driving recklessly, refusing to take responsibility, committing fraud, trying to destroy my reputation. Each choice dug her deeper. I didn't ruin her life. I just refused to let her ruin mine without consequence. The Cuda runs perfectly now. Sometimes I take her out on Sunday mornings when the roads are empty. I think about my grandfather, about the hours we spent together in the garage, about how he taught me that anything worth having is worth protecting. And when I pass by a lamppost, I don't think about the crash anymore. I think about the lesson. Surround yourself with people who respect what you love, not those who laugh when it's destroyed.